Hi everyone, trust you were doing well. So we finished this up in the last episode. So what we're going to do in this one, we're just going to create the methods and the jobs. Right, so let's open up our terminal and get straight into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a subscription job. So we're going to do PHP artisan make job. And this one is going to be subscribe to like this to subscription. All right, so press enter, and the next one is we're just going to do unsubscribe. Unsubscribe from subscription. Right, what we could have done is we could have said subscribe to threads or unsubscribe from threads. All right, we could have done that. But now the problem is you're limited to that, just to the threads with basically your job. Now the thing is, if you're going to use, let's say you want the users later to be subscribed to a video or to a post or to something completely different than threads, then you actually have to create different jobs to do that. Now in the subscriptionable, we'll be able to, you can still use the polymorphic relationship where you can actually subscribe to whatever it might be. All right. So that's why the naming convention right there makes sense. All right. So let's go to those jobs. You go to jobs. Now you'll see we have two new jobs right here. We've got to subscribe to and unsubscribe. All right, so let's update the first one. Okay. And let's go in here. All right, so what we're going to do in here, we need to do a couple of things. All right, so we need to create a private variable for the user. We need to create a private variable for subscription. We need to know who the user is that wants to subscribe, and we need to know what's subscriptionable, either the thread or the videos or whatever the case you need to add to your website. All right, so let's quickly create those two variables. So I'm just going to remove that block comment, and let me just do this. Just private variable, call this one the user, and the next one, this one is basically our subscription, like this. All right, and then in our construct method right here, we're just going to bring in that user model. Okay, just make sure you import it at the top. As you can see, mine is already there. The user. I think we have gained enough exercise to get used to be able to bring in all the kind of stuff as well. Subscriptionable, like that. All right, and then we just want to say this dot user equal to user, and this subscription is equal to subscription, like that. All right, now the handle part, this part is actually creating the job. Right, so we're going to do the subscription. Subscription is going to equal to new subscription. To make sure I bring in the model right there. Okay, so the model. Right, as you can see, mine is already imported right there. All good. Right, so the next part that we want to do, we want to set the right properties. Okay, so we want to say subscription. Okay, dot user relation. Right. Associate. Okay, this user. Okay, basically we're setting that relationship up there. Quite nice. Easy peasy stuff. All right, and this subscriptionable, subscription relation dot save. Then we save this subscription. All right, so that's basically it in our model right there. Okay, so the next thing is we need to update our unsubscribe. Okay, so let's go to unsubscribe. Okay, so we going to need those very same things as well. We need to know who the user is. So we're going to create a private variable for the user and a private variable for the subscription. Like that. Okay, we're going to do the same thing in our construct method, bring in the user model and that's it. Okay, and then we're going to set this user equals to okay, and this one subscriptionable equal to like that. Right, I'm just going to delete the block quote. You can keep them if you want to. All right, now this dot subscriptionable relation, okay, where okay, we need to find out which one this is, okay, where the user ID equal to this user. Okay, so we need to find that one, and then we're just going to say delete, please. That's it. All right, so now we got that all done. So we got our two jobs. Let me just give unnecessary spacing. Just remove that. Make sure you import your models at the top. Okay, just make sure you do that. All right, so the next thing is what we want to do is we want to go to our thread controller and actually update this part right here. So if we go to the routes, we can actually execute those jobs. All right, so let's create the first one. This one, this authorize. Okay, we can call it our thread policy. Thread policy. And let's create inside our thread policy. Let me just make sure we import this at the top. Okay, it's already imported. Subscribe. Let me just go to our thread policy right here. And let's create two methods, two constants. The first one is going to be subscribe. And that's going to call on the method called subscribe. And unsub. And that's going to call the method unsubscribe. Unsubscribe. All right, so let's quickly create those methods. All right, so first thing we're going to do a public function, and we're looking for the subscribe. Let me just copy this one down quickly. But we need the user. Okay, we need to know who the user is, and we also need to know what thread. Okay. Right, so let me just make sure that's imported. Okay, so it's already imported. Make sure this one is imported. All good. And this is basically just going to return a Boolean. Okay, so we want to know. Okay, let me just copy this one down just to speed it up. And I'm just going to do unsub like that. All right, now this is just going to return if the thread is subscriber this user, and that's either going to be true or false. All right, is not. Right, so the other one is the unsubscribe, and we're just going to do basically the opposite of that. Okay. Right, so that's all done. So we're just going to do that, and we're just going to subscribe, bring that in, and then we're going to pass in that thread. Thread like that. Okay, and then we're going to dispatch the job. Dispatch sync, and new subscribe subscription All right, and we're going to pass in the request dot user and the thread. Let me just give us some room here because I'm running out of space. Okay, that's what we're going to do after that. And just think, we need to pass in the thread model here, bring in the request and thread. Just remember the thread is going to be part of the route. So let's just go to the route quickly. We're going to pass the thread right here. Okay, so that will basically be the ID of the thread right there. So that's why when we go to the model right here, we receive it as a parameter inside here. And I'm just going to do the same for unsub because we need to do the same thing. All right, and then we're just going to flash. You know what? Let's do it like this. Return redirect out. The route is basically going to be the thread, you know, the threads.show. And what do we need? We need the category and we need the slug. Okay, so the first one is going to be parameter and array. This is, as you can see, it requires two. It requires the category and it requires the slug. Right, so the first one is going to be thread category. Right, put this in a string. Just make sure you don't put it in a string right there. Right, the reason for this is because we want to go back to that same view where the person actually subscribed to. Okay, and then we just refresh it and we flash the session with the success message. Right, so we could have done it on two ways. All right, because this gets quite a bit long. So we could add the with statement right here, and then we can actually say you have been subscribed to this thread. Okay, so we could have done like this, or we can do a session flash right there. But for me, let me just leave it as is. Okay, put it like that. Okay. Now the next thing is we need to do the unsubscribe as well. I just want to make sure I bring that in. Okay, so it's already imported. Okay, so let's do the same thing. You know, yeah, let's do the same thing. Okay, I'm quickly going to type it out. There's nothing really different from that. Okay, let me just do that. All right, so what I've done is I just bring in the policy just to make sure that the user is authorized to do that. So this I'll return true or false. If it's false, then this will not happen. So if it's true, all right, so let's go. And then we just dispatch that job and we pass in the request to the user and then we just redirect with the success message. On this one, I will just say unsubscribed. All right, so that's it. All right, I don't want the videos to be too long. All right, so we finished up with our jobs. The next part, we obviously need to test if everything is working. All right, so to make sure that the user can be able to subscribe and unsubscribe. All right, and that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and if you like it, please give it a like. If you don't, please give it a dislike. And yeah, adios.